We're going to dive under the hood of Bogren Digital's new IRDX Core plugin. IRDX stands for Impulse Response Dynamics with an X. Essentially, Bogren Digital has captured the magic that a speaker makes when you drive it with a guitar signal or a bass signal. So when you're working with amp sims, you could just turn this knob up and add back in some of that natural vibe. In this video, I'm going to show you what that magic is and how it sounds in an actual mix. And I'll let you decide for yourself if you think it's worth picking up. And just a heads up, the people at Bogren are amazing, and they're giving all of my subscribers 10% off any of their non-sale plugins. So if you go to the description, you can go grab that coupon code and save yourself 10%. On the right here is the new IRDX Core plugin. Beautiful interface. It's got this knob and this cool little speaker thing that moves around, and it has input and output gain controls. It also has this nice calibrate button, which allows you to automatically set the right gain structure for this plugin. It's always nice to not have to think about how you should be gain structuring a plugin when you don't really know what's going on underneath the hood. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, wait a minute, Bogren Digital just released this MLC Guitar Amp Suite plugin, and they had an IR loader with IRDX technology built into that. Is this the same thing as that? I've done a lot of digging under the hood, and I think they're different. So let me show you what I did to come to that conclusion. So normally when this is loaded up, it has some sort of built-in impulse response. This has like an SM57. We can use software called Plugin Doctor to see what the frequency response is of this impulse response and this IRDX technology. So let's just do that. So here is what is coming out of the plugin. So this is not a flat response, right? We have two things going on here. We have both the impulse response from the microphone, and then we also have whatever this IRDX technology is, right? So for us to compare this to the IRDX plugin, which looks like this for its frequency response, we have to get rid of that impulse response from that microphone. So what I did was I lied to this plugin and loaded in a direct impulse, which has all frequencies of equal amplitude. So now what it's doing is it's basically giving us a flat, clean slate to see what's happening with this IRDX technology. But you'll notice from Plugin Doctor, it's not really flat. So I think the plugin actually has these EQ cuts built into the backside of it that isn't really talked about. If we enable the IRDX technology and we start rolling this up, now we're going to see what it actually does to our frequency response. You can see some of this top end starts dropping down, and then it gets a little bit brighter. It's doing some nonlinear stuff that is not trivial that you can just do with like an EQ move, right? And we know because of the previous review I did, this plugin sounds pretty cool. So this is something special. But this behavior does not look like the IRDX Core plugin, which looks like this. This thing is moving. It's got like noise that's being injected into it. As you increase this, you can see we're getting an increase in the top end, and it has this built-in low-pass filter. And you start really pushing it. Now we start getting some different behavior. The peaks are shifting around. Let's check out what this intense knob does. Now when we do this, we're losing some of the very sizzly top-end air, but we're adding a little bit more of oomph or like power down here in the lower frequencies. And this is only a few decibels, right? This is not like some major tonal sculpting tool. This is just there to make the guitars feel a little bit more real. All right, let's check out the harmonic analysis. This is where it starts getting interesting. So here are the harmonics generated using the IRDX technology from this MLC plugin by Bogren. You see we increase the amount, we start generating new higher order harmonics, and that's it. We have our test tone right here, which is at 1000 hertz, and then new harmonics are added in this way as we increase this, okay? It's typical saturation. Let's check out what IRDX Core is doing. Now, this is very different. If we go back, there was only our test tone when this was off. We only had that one peak, this one frequency coming through. That is not the case for this. We have it at 0, and we have all this other stuff going on. It's very, very low in level. It's at like minus 100 dB. You'll never hear these frequencies. What happens, because it's adding in this extra stuff here, we're introducing additional distortion, okay? We're getting intermodulation distortion. So if we go to the IMD, intermodulation distortion analysis portion of this, what that's doing is it's adding and introducing in different frequency or harmonic components in different regions within our guitar. So it's not just brightening up the top end, it's also adding a lot of power and width to the low end of the guitar. And I haven't really seen any plugins that introduce this type of frequency response that then allows it to be intermodulated to lower frequencies and kind of thicken things up. And I think you have to be really careful when you do this because if you do it incorrectly, it sounds like crap. But as you'll hear here in a second, it sounds actually really good. Let's look at the MLC plugin. We get this intermodulation component down here. Now this looks very different from the IRDX Core starting position we see right here, right? So there's actually some like sauce here, right? There's something special going on in this plugin. One final thing I want to point out is the difference in the dynamic response of these two plugins. So we have the MLC plugin here. This is the dynamic response in the red line. All you really need to know is that if this is a straight line and it's a perfect diagonal like you see here, there's no compression, there's no expansion. It's just like a normal linear response when you're using this IRDX technology. If we bring in the IRDX Core, it's linear up to about minus 15 dB, at which point we start seeing an increase in gain after that. That means that it's acting as an expander when the volume reaches about minus 15 dB for this set of circumstances. Now, if we crank this up to 150, we get even more expansion on those guitar strings, okay? If we go to the intense mode, it's louder in gain at all levels, but we're actually getting compression, okay, that's happening instead of that expansion effect. So this is going to give us a lot more saturation and less dynamics. Okay, so if the goal is a natural expression of your guitar, probably want to stick to the normal mode. If you're just trying to go for as loud as possible, as wide as possible, check out the intense mode. Just like all the other guitar plugin videos I've done for Bogren, I'm using the same session. So this song is by a band called Every Hour Kills, and it was written and produced by my buddy Alan Leskow. So if you like what you hear, you can actually go and download all these stems from the band. I have links to all that in the description. Let's hear it with just the guitars. Let's hear it in a mix. It just adds a little of that sauce, you know what I mean? It gives it a little bit more vibe. I don't know. There's a lot of weird plugins coming out that are doing a lot of really weird things, but it's making my life a lot better, I think. Let's check out the chorus. Here we go. Without. And then really quickly, let's check out this intense mode. Here we go. All right, so that's like noticeably louder, but I don't think it's louder like just from a volume. I think it's louder, like a perceived increase in volume. So let me just pull this back a tiny bit. The saturation is just so musical for the guitars, right? It's the air and the width and the space it adds to the guitar. But I kind of like the normal one more because it feels like with each downstroke or, the chugs that we're hearing, they kind of jump out a little bit more of the speakers, whereas the intense feels a little bit more locked and gelled into the mix. But in both cases, the air and the presence it adds to the guitars is just pretty magical. So what did you think about the IRDX Core plugin by Bogren Digital? Is this just some gimmick? Is it just a bunch of garbage? Could you even hear a difference? Let me know in the comments below. I think we're finally getting to the point where technology and analog gear is starting to meet together, and we're getting quality that is almost impossible to tell a difference between if it was digital or analog. At least when it comes to like guitars and stuff like that. Now don't forget, Bogren Digital is giving all Rayton Production subscribers 10% off of any of their non-sale products. So if you want to save some money, check out this plugin or some of their other stuff. I have coupon codes in the description. And while you're in there, you can also download my free rock and metal mixing cheat sheet. It's going to give you my favorite starting positions for EQ and compression for all the instruments you're going to find in like a rock or metal mix. Just print it out, keep it on your desk when you're mixing your next song. I think it's going to help you a lot. My name is Bobby Balo. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Rayton Productions, and I'll see you in another video.